nice multilingual country, a country that is surrounded by Muslim countries. But the essence of that country was racial harmony. That was a political, a critical campaign. I haven't heard that phrase as much here, that racial harmony has to be in every system, because that it becomes systemic within each organization. So mine is a challenge to St. Cloud. Can you make racial harmony, political, sociological, all those issues, can you make that part of your system?
The comments we've heard, because I get what that comment is asking for, but then you actually have to sit down and do it, right? And that's where it gets difficult. What is the biggest barrier on something like that? I guess if that's the comment, if that's the kind of thing we're seeking, and you've always been seeking it, and there are people in the community who have always been seeking it, what do you see as the main reason as to why it hasn't happened yet, right? Why didn't we do this 5 years ago?
Why it hasn't happened is, I guess maybe we're waiting for something big as the city pages maybe to come out, and maybe then we start have this conversation. We're lucky that not something worse happened, but we're having that conversation. And if you look at historically, last 5 years ago, we had people moving to St. Cloud for opportunities, and they want to give their kids those opportunities for jobs, opportunities for school. We have a lot of students that live in Minneapolis that come to St. Cloud State, Tech, and many other schools around here. And it's a process. And like we have been talking here the whole day about resistance and conflicts, it brings about those conversations and talking to each other. And we want, everybody here just wants to be able to provide for their family. So we don't have a lot of struggles. I want to share a story quickly. My experience. And maybe this might explain something. I was at Walmart. I was standing in the line, and there was an elderly white lady in front of me. In front of the white elderly lady, there was a Somali, two elderly Somalis dressed in Islamic dress, and about 4 children. And it was the checkout. And the kids would run around, the 2 moms who were Somali, and they would pick stuff, how you check out, you have those candies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And those kids would play with the candies, they'd take it back, they would just rearrange it, just playfully. And this white elderly lady standing in front of me, screaming to the Somali family, "You are ISIS, get out of our country, I don't want you here." And I'm standing right behind him. So the 2 Somali ladies turn around and they can hear this sound coming from this lady. They turn around and look at me. They look straight at me. And they're trying to, when I looked in their eyes, it's like they're telling me, translate what this lady is saying to us. Tell us what this lady is saying. And I'm like, how do I start this? What do I do? And this is the beauty of St. Cloud, and this is what gives me so much hope that it's not all of us. So I tell the lady, no, just check out. It's okay, in Somali language. Don't worry. Well, just go and check out. Don't worry about what's going on. Just go ahead and check out. So she goes and checks out, and they leave. So the white lady is still fuming and puffing, and she gets to the checkout point. And there's another white lady, about 30-something years old. And she's, what are they doing here? It's not their city. hate, they're gonna kill us, they're ISIS. And I'm walking, I have my car, I'm just dragging it, just behind her, you know, like, and then when we get to check out, the lady who's checking her out looks at her and says, what did they do to you? What did they do to you today? What have they done to you for you to go on this? And she looks at her and she just grabs her stuff and says, you're with them too. She walks away. So when we say St. Cloud, we have people, great people, that stand up when it matters. That stand up for this community when it matters. And that is what each one of us should be doing to defeat those few people that are doing this. Why is it a problem? When I get abused or somebody's threatened, we don't go around saying it's all white people's problem. But when something like real experience comes, we say the opposite. We get offended every day and we don't say it's everybody offending us. But an article comes that offends all of us and we all like, it's very offensive. Oh my God, why? I don't think it's fair. That's not how we should start a conversation. This is what we want.
Cool.
I'm the picture of city pages. I hate that picture more than nothing else.
I was about to take it out, but I won't.
Yeah. But they took 600 pictures of me. And the only picture they could take and post on was an angry Somali lady. To be honest with you, I would like any like the rest of you in this room to try and be in my shoes. I'm coming from Sam's Club. You know there's two lines. They have 2 lanes that you can park your car. My daughters don't like driving with me because they feel like, oh, she's gonna snap. So I put my things in my car. I get into my car. I don't like using the word white, and I didn't say white cloud. They did that. So a Caucasian lady comes in front of my car. She looks at me first. Who's in this car? She sees me dressed. She starts taking her phone and takes a picture of my car. To be honest with you, I've been driving for 23 years. The chief of police is here. I don't have a ticket. I don't drive to the cities because I'm a very careful driver. I'm afraid to go to the cities because it's either I will hit somebody or somebody will hit me. That's what people, they laugh at me because I've been here for 23 years, but I've never driven outside St. Cloud. Anyway, to make the story short, she takes a picture of my plate at the front and comes around where there's a very big space in between me and her. Takes a picture of the side of my car, goes back and takes the tag. I don't know if it was a different tag that I had in the back. She takes another picture. And then I was like, what is she doing? Sometimes, you know, you can just, I'm like, you know what? She might take this picture if something happens to her car and go and report me. So the devil in me, that's what I say, came out. I got out of my car. She was putting her grocery stuff in her car. I went, did the same thing she did to me.
Yeah, good. Perfect.
The side of her car and the back of her car.
There you go. That's it.
And she told me, what are you doing? I told her the same thing you are doing to me. She said, oh, I have a headache. I can't take this. I said, if you have a headache, you shouldn't be coming out of your house. So it was okay for her to take pictures of my car, but it wasn't okay for me to take pictures of her car. For me to do that I wanted something for evidence, that if tomorrow the cops come after me and say that I hit somebody's car, oh no, I have a picture too. So I look at her and I say, does she do this to everybody else maybe who looks like me? Maybe, you know? Do I say all Americans are like that? No. Do I say all St. Cloud people are like that? No. But those are the kind of things that I face, I'm not going to talk for anybody else because I got grounded, I got grinded by the city article, and that was my experience. So I'm not going to talk for any other Somali, but I believe there's thousands, Luls out there that this incident happens to, but they don't know what to do, and they cannot express their feelings, or they cannot challenge the person.
So what do we do with that? So when stories like what you just, we've just heard two examples, right? Very quote unquote small examples, but not insignificant, of something that went wrong. But what do we as the community, how do we process that? Do we process that and say, goodness gracious, this is rampant and this is a problem? Like, how do we compartmentalize what happens on a potentially daily basis with a quote unquote small incident into a sense of how big the problem is? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, how do we measure those two stories and then put it into the formula to actually know how big of a problem this is?
This is what I would say. Don't be a bystander. The minute you become a bystander, you are supporting that incident. That, to be honest with you. If I found a Somali person harassing an American or a white person, I will talk to my Somali person and tell them, that's unfair what you're doing. But why don't we get the same thing? You know, people see people being harassed, but they will just pass by and say, oh, this doesn't matter, this doesn't do, you know, it's not my business. But the only thing you can do, hey, stop harassing this person. You know, that's the only thing you can do. So the person knows, okay, here is somebody who sees me doing something wrong. Let me correct this, my issues, because I have issues that looks like my own person who looks like me sees that what I'm doing is wrong. As a community, again I say, as a community, if we talk about what is happening in St. Cloud, things will change. I know it's not going to be today or tomorrow. It's going to take baby steps. But if I don't talk about my experiences and what I face, nothing will happen. Nothing will change. You won't know. You'll just see me as a Lul, dressed up and walking and smiling when I see you. But you don't know what I'm going through in my daily life. I've been spit on by young boys. I've been called a terrorist. I've been called, oh, hey, you, the lady who's wearing the drive. It's a hijab, for heaven's sake, okay? So it's those kind of things that, and those people are passing by. My daughter was like, Mom, please don't talk to her. I'm like, no, I'm going to talk to her. I am going to talk to her. She calls her older sister and goes like, you know what she's doing? She's arguing with a white lady. I'm not arguing, but I'm trying to show this lady, you know what? If you used to doing this, better know there's somebody who's going to talk back to you next time, you know. There's somebody, not all of us don't speak English, some of us speak English, you know. Not all of us. And if people will just pretend that they didn't hear you, who looks like the bad person? You look like the bad person then, because that person ignored you. But there's so much that we ignore, but there's a point that you come and start, you know, you start feeling like, no, I cannot take this anymore. You know?
My mom was like that too, Hensel, so she always talked to everybody. Another question here, introduce yourself. By the way, we're closing in on the end here, so we only have a couple more questions here coming, but obviously we hope this conversation continues, and introduce yourself and ask your question.
My name is Deborah Lee. I want to thank the panelists that are here today. And what we're talking about right now is microaggressions. And microaggressions are like a paper cut. And the example that Lola is explaining is when you live a life where you receive 1,000 paper cuts in one day, and they become extremely painful. Even though they're small little cuts, they still are cuts. They bleed, and they're extremely painful. And I want to ask this panel, how do we, as a community, continue to uplift the dignity of every other person in this community? How do we love those even who would say those mean things to us? How do we support those who support us as well?
Let me throw that to Hafsa, because it sounds like there's just some work you're doing in the schools. Is what she talked about, is that what you're exploring, or?
It depends because if it's like something that's happening constantly, so it's like every single day, there comes a point where you're just like, is it really worth it? Like just trying to like not even fight back, just trying to educate the person. So I feel like most people who have experienced some kind of like racism, at some point they just feel like either nothing will change or nothing will be done about it, so they just kind of give up. But I feel like it just depends on the person, because if you see something like that happening and you care enough to step in, then that creates a cycle. Then the next person who saw that happening as well will be like, I'm gonna step up too. So it's just like a cycle that keeps going.
Question. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Abdul Sabit. I live in St. Clair actually. I have a question about the city council. They vote. And then my question goes back to the Mr. Mayor, because this actually affects the city of St. Cloud when they ship people overseas, especially Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. And that city council actually make worse. That job actually is supposed to be working as an immigrant who actually live in the United States to cover for that job. As the mayor responsibility, what action do we took before that vote take place? Was the city council actually represent the city people?
We need to get a mic up here. Rita, I'm sorry, we need to. Dave, you want to take that? Are you going to take that, or the mayor? Mayor Claes?
I'm not on the city council, but I can explain the action. And this is and Haji, you asked to point things out when they're incorrect. What you said was incorrect.
Okay.
What is mentioned is incorrect. The city council, in a planned unit development, which is a zoning matter, took a building that at one time was a convent. Then it transitioned to a place where New Mothers, New Beginnings, it was the name of the place, New Beginnings. And the zoning action was to take us another building and house individuals who were going to be temporary workers. That is strictly a zoning action. It was unanimously supported by the committee that recommends zoning issues to the council, unanimously. It was brought to the council. There may be a greater discussion about the overall aspect of bringing in temporary workers, but that's not the action that was before the council. The council was there to make a decision on a planned unit development, which is a zoning action, and they made that decision.
How did you?
The argument beyond that is about something different. So that's an inaccurate statement, and I think that needs to be. I'm not on the council. I didn't take the vote, but I think those who voted for it need that understanding and respect, because they took an action, a difficult action, but it's a zoning action. They took it from a zoning perspective, not a temporary worker's perspective.
Okay, so to answer that question, so Mayor Claes, you're saying Golden Plum is not sourcing for temporary workers to come to St. Cloud and work in?
No, what he's saying
I'm not saying that is a broader issue, and that is a separate issue. That is an issue that you would have with Golden Plum.
Right.
That is an issue that under what they are doing is a federal program.
Right.
So that would be an issue you would have as a federal aspect. What the city did was took a zoning issue, and the city council, and a zoning issue like that, they serve as a jury. That's the aspect of when I talk about government. Government has to treat everybody equally, or the lights go out.
You got another problem on your hand, Mayor. Well, that was dramatic. So thank you.
I must be right.
Whoever just did that. Let me, Haji. This is we're close to wrapping up here, and I know we're litigating a very local issue here, and I get that, but there's an interesting dynamic going here, because what the mayor's saying is, look, you need to understand that we were limited in the role we had. We were simply talking about whether these people deserve to live in this place when they come here, versus the issue you take up with the company. Is there enough understanding, widespread across the whole community, on issues like this? I mean, isn't this where this starts to become problems, where it's this micro issue, right? And zoning, and what did the company do? That's where we get our disconnect on what's right. Correct, I mean, what's accurate.
I feel like we're not, like we're passing the ball. That's my honest opinion. When I'm speaking of, I'm not speaking to discredit anybody, but I'm speaking for this community that needs job. I'm not here to discriminate on temporary workers that want to come and join our city. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we have many people across race, religion, and culture that live in this city that want jobs. And when you have our city council entertaining the idea of even having a place so that those temporary workers can come in the future, it's something that as a city we need to discuss. That's all I'm saying. They did not vote so we can have those workers here.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that.
Right.
I understand that very well. But what I'm talking about is when we are talking about our issues that is greatly influenced by poverty, lack of unemployment, and many other issues, then that also plays a role. We want everybody to come to America and have an opportunity to be able to, provide for their families. But we have a lot of families in our city here in St. Cloud that deserve those jobs. And those are the people we need to reach out to before we even think of having temporary workers coming. If we have extra jobs that are available, then yeah, let's welcome other people.
Let me just,
One thing I want to
unfortunately, we're near the end of our time. I want to bring in Dave Masters just briefly. I was a city council member who made that vote. There's a disconnect here. You see what's happening, and his point is that actions matter, and that the message you sent with that vote, a mundane zoning issue, sent a larger message that the Somali community has a problem with.
All communities.
Good evening, good evening. I'm Dave Masters. I sit on the City Council for Ward 1. I did vote in favor of the zoning issue. We did hold a public forum, and we listened, public hearing, and we listened to the dialogue and so forth, which, when you have to operate within a narrow band in regards to this issue. What's brought forward from the Planning Commission deals specifically with the right of St. Anthony's Church to be able to take a facility that was utilized prior as a new beginnings, whether they can then reuse this facility for another purpose.
It's a limited action you have at the city council level.
That's correct.
But there's the image of it all, right?
I do understand, your concerns in regards to that, but it's outside of our parameter to dictate to Golden Plump as to, who's going to hire who. But it was, when looking at it clearly, just as the issue that was brought before us, I felt that was the best answer.
We can't.
It was not a limited issue. There were some members who were of the opinion that this could be broadened and could be discussed, but they were suppressed.
I don't want to lose focus here, and I apologize for cutting this off only because I understand this is a local issue. I have a time constraint, and I apologize for that, so I have to wrap it up. And I would love to wrap it up with a thought from Hafsa, because you got us started. I just love to know, good or bad, mixed, whatever, what do you want people to know about St. Cloud? Because this is going to go off to all of Minnesota on the radio.
I like St. Cloud. I've lived here since I was like 3, so it is kind of my hometown, or it is my hometown. I don't think it's a bad place. There's just certain people who, like in my experience, are just either, like, because you're not born racist. You learn it from somewhere, maybe your parents, or maybe school, or your friends. So I feel like there's not that many bad people. So when you see, like, even after the protests, like the articles you see about St. Cloud and like the school, it makes St. Cloud look like it's just all racism all around. Nobody, like, Somali people feel like threatened like every single day. Like my group of friends, I have friends from all different types of cultures. I just don't hang out with Somali people. I don't hang out with just white people. I like make my group of friends look different, so that way I'm teaching them something, they're teaching me something, so we're not keeping the cycle of ignorance going. So I feel like when there's things about St. Cloud that are taken to Minnesota or it's only St. Cloud and it's seen as negative or assumed as negative, then it makes the whole town look bad. But I feel like it's not. Just for me, it hasn't been not great recently, but though like the rest of my life I've lived comfortably. So yeah.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you all. Thank you all for being here tonight. This will be on the radio on Tuesday. We have cards, we have iPads. We'd love for you to consider signing up with us because we're looking for ways to continue this conversation through MPR, but that's not the only way to continue the conversation. So to each his own, but thank you all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.